Hi, today I'm going to demonstrate the 3-needle bind-off modification that I've improvised. I posted something about it on Ravelry, and a few people have asked me if I would go ahead and do a little video just to show them how it works. So today I'm going to show you some samples, and then we'll just do a little bit of it both in the continental and the English style of knitting. Normal 3-needle bind-off winds up with purl bumps because you're knitting two together, passing one stitch over another. And when you hold these together, you're actually knitting over the knits, but you're purling over the purls on the back piece of fabric. So what you get is this purl ridge, and it throws the chain off to the front. My modification allows you to do just a nice straight chain like this second half of the swatch shows you. You don't have this kind of fussiness here that I don't like. It does not work as well on garter stitch though, and the primary reason is garter is all knit. So if I'm knitting in the back, knitting in the front and purling in the back, you wind up with this extra row of knits back here, which is not pretty. You're better off going with just the regular 2-needle bind off in this case because you get the ridge sitting up nice and straight at the chain in between the two ridges. So I do not use this for garter stitch, but it is, I think, quite a nice improvement for the stockinette pieces of work. I just have two of my projects here that I want to show you. I've done this. This is the Margot poncho, and this poncho calls for seaming the shoulders. And what I've done here is instead of hiding the seam, I decided to make a statement of it. And you can see this sits up real nice and flat on the work, and it just seems to add a little bit of an extra touch to the poncho. I've also used it for cowls. You certainly can use it to join cowls in the round and again make a little fashion statement with it. A lot of the cowls now are giving you this 2 fabric come around with the purl ridge turn. When you come back up, they're telling you to 3-needle bind off. And what I did for this is, again, there's no purl bumps anywhere. It sits up nice and straight, just literally on the top of those 2 pieces of fabric that are joined, and I think it's a really, really nice way to finish off your cowls. So how does this work? I've started a swatch over here just to show you basically how it's done. I am a continental knitter by choice, but I do also English knit, so I will show you in both formats. First, we're going to do the continental. Now, I'm going to move my 1 stitch over here, and we're going to start. When you do continental knitting, you can keep the working wool fairly easily between the 2 needles. You're always going to be going in knitwise to the stitch on the front needle and into the stitch on the back needle purlwise. You bring your yarn around as if to purl, come back out purlwise, and then come back out in the knit stitch. Take both stitches off your needle as if you were doing just a regular 3-needle bind off, and up and over again it's like a 3-needle bind off. So let me demonstrate that again. The yarn has to stay between the 2 needles. In the first as if to knit, behind the working wool, grab the stitch purlwise, circle around as if to purl on the back needle, just bring the yarn through on the front needle. Old stitches come off, up and over. Let me do that one more time. In as if to knit, behind the working wool, in as if to purl. Circle the back needle as if to purl, out as you would for a purl stitch, and back out as you would for a knit stitch. Once I have the 2 stitches on my right needle, one has to come up and over the other. I'll do one more. In as if to knit, behind the working wool, in as if to purl. Circle the needle as if to purl, come back out the knit stitch, old stitches come off, up and over. Now, if you're a English or American knitter, which is to say you throw, you have just a few more maneuvers because as a English knitter, you're going to be moving your yarn back and forth, similar to if you were just knitting and purling. So we'll go into the first stitch again as if to knit. Now you have to bring the yarn to the front of the needle so you can go into the back stitch as if to purl. Circle the back needle as if to purl, and bring your working wool through the old stitch. Bring the yarn to the back because you're going into the front needle as if to knit. You don't want it to get caught. These 2 stitches come off, bring the stitch up and over. Let me demonstrate that again. In the front as if to knit, working wool, to the front so that you can go in cleanly as if to purl. Come around and purl, back out, wool to the back, out the knit stitch. Let's do it one more time. In as if to knit. Working wool comes to the front. In as if to purl. Come around purlwise with your yarn, come out. Yarn to the back, out through this stitch, both stitches come off. So I'm sure depending on how you tension your own yarn, you'll have a way that works smoothly for you. But let me just show you here. This is the chain we're getting, and I think it's a lovely little addition. There's no leaning, there's no purl bumps. Even the other side has a nice clean look to it. So I hope you'll give this modification a try. I found that it has many applications, and I think the more you use it, the more you'll feel comfortable with it. So thank you for watching my video, and happy knitting.